And we're live. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Across from me, to the side of me is Rich Valdez. Rich, how you doing?
Hey Ted, what's going on, man?
What's up,
Long
man?
time no broadcast together.
Too long, way too long. But life tends to get in the way of things. But here we are. Professionally, we speak every day,
Oh yeah,
but doing this podcast or vodcast, not so much, not so often. Um, First and foremost, happy belated Father's Day to you.
and to you, did you do anything good? Have any fun? The kids are getting older now, so did they
Yeah.
did they did they put anything into the mix for Dad?
No. No. Had a nice dinner.
Good.
Um, they got me a pair of slides,
Oh,
Nike slides,
okay.
and I went from a Series 1 to a Series 5.
Did the super jump?
The super jump. And the thing was, at work, when I would be attending meetings,
Yep.
but the Series 1 would just reboot on itself. So I was just like, and the funny thing about it, people would say, so hey, your watch, it's cycling. I'm like, yeah,
Uh,
don't worry,
yeah,
I'll get a new one on Father's Day.
yeah, it does that, right?
So
Nice.
so that's kind of been the deal. How about you? Because you is
Oh,
basically empty nester, almost, kind of, three
almost.
quarters of the way.
Even more than that. We're about like 80% there.
Okay.
Rob's, one of course lives out of state. The other one is on the other side of town. He and his fiance or girlfriend or whatever they are now, the two expecting. And the youngest, he's at his girlfriend's 80% of the time. He'll come home to do laundry,
Okay.
and sometimes he'll stop by before he goes to work to change, and then say, "All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow or the day after. See you soon." They're like, "Okay," but he usually checks in once on the weekend, which is cool. So
Okay.
yeah, we're almost there. But now I had a good one. So the oldest came by, brought over some nice skirt steaks and some shrimp, and threw them on some skewers. Went
Uh,
out to the grill, cooked it up. So we had
yes.
a good Father's Day brunch. Did it
Yeah.
early, so that was nice. And that's all I did. That was
I
good.
mean, nowadays, it. So where were we? On was it? I think it was Father's Day. I
Hmm.
was picking up my watch from Target.
Hmm.
Um, and I have to go there, Rich.
Go ahead.
Pulled up into, I get it. I understand it's COVID central, but I
Yes.
pulled right up into any parking spot that I wanted to park into,
Hmm.
walked into the store, didn't have to wait online outside,
Hmm.
went to where I needed to go pick up the item from, then got redirected over to online pickups and was done within 15 minutes. Why
There
is
you
that?
go.
You could not replicate that on Mother's Day.
Of course not. It's a madhouse on Mother's Day. First of all, nothing's available if you wait till Mother's Day, and
Right.
everyone's out there. I mean, we went to dinner. We were like, "All right, what do you?" She's like, "What do you want to eat?" And I wasn't being picky. I was like, "You know what? I'd be happy with a good burger." She's like, "All right, let's go to Applebee's." I'm like, "All right," thinking maybe a little crowded, but all right. So we went to one on off the LIE in Vets Highway, Motor Parkway rather. Get there, they got a little back area with outdoor seating and all that.
That's great.
Five or six tables open. It's like, oh, you guys want to come? Pick a spot, pick a space. Go ahead, sit where you want to. It's like, okay, of course, Father's Day, get right in. Mother's Day, not quite.
Not quite. You're outside. There's people inside that are waiting to be seated. There's
Yep,
people outside waiting to be seated. And you're like,
yep,
so I don't know. This year it just seemed a little bit different because of our current situation.
yes.
But you kind of, I still have to go with the spiel and the shtick of where's the love.
One year, it'll get there, but that's
I
okay.
hope.
That's okay. Moms are important.
Oh,
Get them, give them all the love. It's all right.
moms are extremely important. I don't want to think for any opportunity that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Um, but since we're speaking about dads, first topic of today is 6 ways the pandemic is impacting U.S. dads.
Now, I mean, one overall, I'm not even going to look at anything specific here.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, stress has to be high on the list. I
Yes.
mean, you figure, let's maybe I'm being a little old fashioned, falling into some of those gender specific roles, but everything falls on both parents. Don't get me wrong. So, pandemic is affecting dads as much as it affects moms.
Yes.
But right
Agreed.
now, 70, what is it, like 79% of dads saying that being at home has helped them to realize and appreciate everything else that their spouse handles at home. And almost as many said they've got like a newfound appreciation for the kids' teachers after having to help them and homeschool them while this is done. I swear I saw more people mentioning data along that line initially, like, oh my God, the teacher goes through this every day. I gotta send them flowers because I never really appreciated just how crazy it is and how much they have to do, and you stuck at home with the kids. So that's one of the ways.
It says a full time job nationwide. 41% of dads said their work productivity has been negatively impacted from working from home, and 54%, here's a key one, said they have had a work call or video conference interrupted by one of their kids. Ding,
I,
ding, 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 ding.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised it's only 54%
Right.
because let's see, I know I've been on calls and conference calls and video meetings where dads have had babies in carriers holding them. They've had kids running around in the background. You can hear them yelling and playing video games, running in the middle just to say hello. That happens quite often, it seems. So I'm surprised it's only 54%. But I'll also say, no matter when it has happened, it's like, okay, so what? The kid walked in, no big deal. Didn't
Right.
really interrupt anything. It's not,
This is
not making
life.
a difference in the meeting. And this is life. And if you can't understand that, well, you really
Screw you.
get exactly. Get your priorities in place. Dad's being a dad, and we're all at home right now, so deal with it. What's also interesting, they found in a survey, over 69% of dads said that there was a big silver lining during the pandemic, and that's them getting to spend more time with their families. Eh,
Yes.
Which definitely could see that. I mean, you and I, right? Just not having the commute alone has put us at home for, in my case, 4 hours a day. Your case just under that, right? Like 3 hours
Right.
a day
Like three hours a day.
that you've gotten back just in not traveling back and forth.
Yes.
So it's also good to see that 56% of dads said that they feel even closer to their families than before, and not just physically. Being around with having the kids around, having the spouse around, being around them more often. And let's face it, we are all really sharing the households these days. So of course you're going to get a little closer.
That's true. Homework struggles. It was something that was mentioned earlier. No shocker, 68% of dads reported helping their kids with homework more amidst COVID than they did previously. In addition, nearly 83% of dads said they were relieved the school year is over because of the constant homeschool and homework struggles it caused.
I didn't envy you at the beginning of this because, of course, all mine are out of school and done. But I can't imagine if this had been 15 years ago with three boys in various stages of education and having to sit there and do homeworks and homeschool all of them. That would have just been overwhelming.
It's just totally crazy. Also factor in the whole Common Core silliness where everything is, instead of things being in 3 steps, they're in 5 to 6 steps.
I still don't understand it, and hopefully I never need to.
Yeah.
because, because I'll get into an argument with the teacher in a heartbeat. No, 1 plus 1 is 2, not 5 minus 2 minus plus 3, carry the 4. So,
Right.
one another nice thing that came out of the survey, uh, roughly 57% of dads said that they finally, or at least somewhat, adjusted to the new normal of pandemic parenting, and 56% said they're experiencing less stress than they did at the beginning of the quarantine. And that makes total sense, right? Because when the quarantine first began, not only did we have just the worries and concerns about the disease and keeping your family safe from the disease, but then you had everything on top of it, like, all right, the educational factors, the just living with each other factors,
Right.
employment factors. Because let's face it, you and I are really fortunate in that working for a location that allows us to basically do everything we do in the office from home and be
Yes.
just as effective. But not everyone is in that position. So employment, financial struggles definitely were affecting and are still affecting, untold numbers of folks. But it's good to see some positive things brought out from this.
I think we wait for every Thursday morning around 9:30 in the morning for the weekly unemployment numbers. And you're just
Yes,
like, how many? And when you get to a point where like the number is 40 million plus
right.
during this process that are currently not working. And no, we're more than lucky, definitely blessed. And it's a field that we knew many, many moons ago was the field to get into,
Right.
where it would have longevity, knowing that. I mean, and you and I both said this countless to many, many people: get into technology,
Hmm.
take the time out, learn, study for about a year or two, and then try to get in entry level. And stuff like this has paid off time
Yep.
and time again.
Yep.
And you know, last one is lending a helping hand. Approximately 57% of dads said they've increased the amount of time they spend helping with household chores since the pandemic began. The top 5 states where the majority of dads have increased their household duties are Wisconsin, Utah, Texas, North Carolina, and Indiana. You and I also help out around our homes. I mean, I guess it's because, like you said, it's the profession we're in. So there's a lot of customer interaction.
Hmm.
There's some, technical ability, but the extra 15 to 20 hours a week that you're home, you might as well, be put to use.
Exactly. Make it work. I know I started doing, at a certain point, it's like, all right, what can I just start doing around the house? The minor repairs, the little things you looked at for who knows how long. They're like, I'll get to it one day. It's like, all right, well, it's not as big a deal. Again, if I can be home and once I'm done with work, walk right downstairs, pick up the tools and start repairing something versus, all right, go down, go get on the train, go travel, go do what you got to do. Finally get home. You want to eat. It's dark already. So again, being home, that's another benefit that this has had, especially over here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I will tell you this much. It's something to sit here and look around the world at these infections, looking at the various states that are running into these numbers. They're breaking records every day with
Yep.
level of infections. And as I've said on a couple of other podcasts that I've had a guest appearance on or stuff, I'm like, do yourself and do your family and your loved ones a favor and just put the mask on.
Let's talk about the mask for a moment. It's not on the agenda, but I need someone to explain this to me. Okay, how does wearing a mask impinge upon your rights?
Which I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It's beyond crazy. It's
You know,
beyond crazy.
All the only thing wearing a mask, wearing a mask does two things. It provides some protection for you, so you can't inhale whatever germs are around. Doesn't do 100%, but it helps. But more importantly, it is much more effective at keeping you from infecting anyone around you. And whenever you see someone arguing against this on TV, one of the first things they say is, "Well, I'm not sick. I'm not going to give it to anybody." You don't know you're sick for 3 weeks after you've gotten the bug, and that's if you show symptoms. And as we've been finding out, scientists have been telling us, surveys have been telling us, the doctors have been telling us, there are so many people who are walking around that are asymptomatic, and you may not get any symptoms, but you walk up in front of somebody else and you give it to them, and 3 weeks later they're light up in a hospital on a ventilator, and it's your fault, and you'll never know about it. But it was your selfish act of just not wearing a simple cloth or whatever material mask on your face when you walked from your car to the store and back to your car that caused that. It's just the most selfish act that you can think of.
No, I
Randall.
agree. I totally agree with you. I just want to play this quick clip.
Yep.
You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And the people, we the people, are waking up, and we know what citizens arrest is because citizens arrests are already happening. Okay, and every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested, and you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
Problem with humanity today is ignorance, arrogance, and apathy. Keep taking the road of least resistance. Keep listening to the TV brainwashing you from birth.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
Sir, I really have many question marks about your degrees and what you really know. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think that you are worthy of your credentials. And I would ask suggestively that you go back to school and get educated.
So masks are one of the best ways to stop this.
So I bet most of them that was Florida. That was in, I
That was
believe.
Florida. That was Florida.
Florida. One of this areas right now that is having a huge surge in COVID disease detections and infections.
Yes.
Wonder why.
Insane, Rich. Like I sit here and I get it. We live in New York. I get it. It's liberal. I totally get it. Where the governor said wear a mask, and we listened. Wear a mask, and we sat here through several months
Mm-hmm.
following orders
Mm-hmm.
with the mask on, and now the infection rates are minimal.
Yes.
So I get all of that. I understand it, and I get all of it.
And we were the
But,
epicenter of this.
and we were the epicenter. Rich, we have 30,000 plus New Yorkers that are no longer with us.
Right. That's a huge number.
That's a huge number. In the state, just think of it, 30,000 plus. And in the state of New York, there's just shy under 20 million. Huge number.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, it just bothers me, and it just bothers me when everything is politicized. We've seen the videos with the elderly gentleman who's trying to get into the Walmart, and he's tripping over himself and fighting with the customer service representative from Walmart. You're just like, what is wrong with people?
I fail to understand it. I really do. It's what do you not believe in science? Would these people also say that the Earth is flat and we never went to the moon?
Right. And I know it's easy to blame the president. I know, I get it.
I wasn't
And he
even going to go
deserves a
there.
lot of it. He deserves a lot of the blame, but come on, people. It's like, come on. So that's our PSA on wearing masks.
Wear your mask, wash your hands, the common sense,
Physical distance.
physical distancing. Yes. Go out, even if you know what, don't wear your mask around the house. No one's asking you to. In public, just be considerate for others. That's all. It's not hurting you. It's not impinging on any rights. Just wear a mask.
Okay. Before we segue out of this, Rich, I'm going to say this much. And the flip side of it is, I don't know if you should shame the person that doesn't wear the mask, but I think educate them.
Well, you know what? Right now, at this point, I don't think it's education
Okay.
because they have obviously formed some sort of opinion based upon what they've heard and are ignoring what science, what the news, what everyone, well, not everyone, obviously, what the majority of people believe and have been taught and understand. They are doing this intentionally for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So, and it's not even shaming. I mean, sure, I'll walking in the store, hey, you forgot your mask, and wait for the response.
Right.
And admittedly, the vast majority say, "Oh wow, I forgot it. Thank you," and that's it. No big deal.
And they go back to their cars, they grab their
grab
mask,
it. Yep.
and they come back in.
Yeah, I can't tell you
Those
how
I
many
get.
times I've done that. Halfway out across the parking lot, like, oh man, forgot the mask. Run back. Go get
Right.
it. Okay, that's it.
I don't know. I'm caught. I'm stuck because I think some of the people, regardless on however you see the mask,
Right.
I mean, of course, we lean towards put it on and do what you need to do.
Correct.
But there's some people that are just out there, just like, hey, let me put this person on the internet and let me, get a few clicks and do whatever I need to do. And you're just like,
Yeah, that you get some kind of negative response for doing that at someone. I kind of get that. But just ask them. Just say something nicely. Hey, you forgot your mask.
you
That's all.
forgot your mask.
And then when they start on that tirade, it's like, all right, well, you don't wear your mask. You go home and infect your family. I don't want my family infected.
Right. I like that. I like that response. So we'll go to topic that I was looking at this past week.
Mhm.
I saw a couple of things at the AP and the Associated Press about Amazon Video interested and aggressively thinking about linear TV.
Now, first, I got to stop here for a second. First time I heard linear TV, I'm like, wait a second. What new term are we making up here for what? Linear TV? You mean just normal streaming? And basically, that's what it is. I mean,
That's what it is.
we've gotten to the point where since everything is on demand these days, of course,
Yes.
and pre-produced data, so now we'll call live TV linear TV.
Linear
Can't pause
TV.
it. Can't rewind it. It's live. Okay.
Linear TV. I know you was probably looking at and I know in pre-pro.
There it is. Waiting for that. Gotta get the pre-pro reference in. There it is.
Gotta get the pre-pro reference in pre-pro. You were thinking about linear. You're just like, what the hell is he talking about? But no, it's they want to get into the live TV business. I mean, number one, everyone wants to get into sports, but when there are no sports, what do you do? So I had a theory that I gingerly mentioned to you.
Yes. Go ahead. Go in depth.
You got Amazon, who has I don't know what 112 million subscribers to Amazon Prime. Hence, you get the Amazon Video option. Okay. Along with their Amazon channels and TV shows and movies and original content and everything else like that. I believe at the end of this year, Howard Stern is up for a contract renewal. Howard Stern, who left terrestrial radio for Sirius XM,
Yep.
Which only has 34 million subscribers.
And I am this close to making it 33,999,999.
My theory is Howard moves over to Amazon because he's only doing a show 3 days a week.
But
And the money. If Sirius is paying this guy $90+ million a year for a 4-hour show for 3 days a week, and of that 4 hours, how much of it is music?
Right.
He's just coming in certain parts and, okay, let's talk about.
Oh, really? It's not full talk?
Say it again?
It's not full talk radio?
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Has to look into that. I've never been a big Howard fan anyway, so
You don't think he plays music at all? All they do is talk all 4 hours?
I think it's talk.
Oh,
I
okay.
could be wrong. I'm going by, the shows as they were years ago, when he was still on radio.
Right.
So,
I just think it's a match made in heaven. And if that's not the case, I say Stern goes to Spotify.
That one I could see. That's like his market right there. It'd be good. That would for Spotify, especially if you're right in that it's music and talk. That's like the win-win for them.
Right. Because that way, it's like you said. Because most people who do their shows, whether it's radio or TV or if they're doing a simulcast, it's 5 days a week.
Right.
Outside of the ones that have weekly shows or something like that. If he's only doing 3, so he's only doing 3. I just see it has to be a partner that is going to be able to pay a lot and not flinch.
Right.
And with the money that Spotify has been giving out to exclusive, talent to air their content strictly on their service, it seems like Spotify is printing money. Amazon prints money. Netflix, with their 145 million subscribers, prints money.
They're printing money.
They are printing money. Not so much as, for HBO or for Disney Plus, because, Howard wouldn't fit on Disney Plus. Or even maybe a Hulu.
Yeah, maybe Hulu could be it as well. Even though whenever I hear Hulu, I think more the traditional media that they've brought over from television. The original programming, the CBS, NBC type programming. They don't seem to be as fringe as, say, Amazon could be, or definitely like Spotify could be.
Right.
Spotify could do whatever they want. Amazon still have to keep certain things tame, but then again, Amazon has so much of their own produced content now.
Yes.
And they could start, that they obviously have start spreading their wings and get going to things that are a little racier, not so mainstreamish maybe. And it looks like they're doing the same thing like Netflix at this point. Let's just produce, a couple hundred programs, shows a year and see what sticks. There's so much out there.
I guess not so bold predictions. We'll wait until later on in the year. And I could be proven wrong once again.
I think it's a good. Let's see what happens with Stern, specifically. Let's see where he goes and what happens.
Black House Autonomous Zone versus CHAZ in Seattle. Rich, I will say this much. When we were watching, when George Floyd's murder, was broadcast across every TV channel
hmm
across America and across every website. Um, a lot of things came from out of there.
Right.
But for what they did in Seattle, where they took over a police department in a specific area,
Yeah, was it 4 square blocks? I think something like that.
yes, and basically made it like a free zone.
Right. Set up their own rules, regulations, their own policing, their own
Yes,
controls, we'll call it, but their own policing because they were trying not to let you know anarchy really take hold. They were trying to still maintain the area in some sense. Um, yeah, that I don't think that would have flown anywhere except like Seattle.
right,
Anywhere else, the remainder of the police would have moved in, and
quick
pretty
fast
much
like
where
that.
that would have gone. Yeah, and you might want to call it, since it all's well that kind of ends well, an interesting experiment, an interesting show of what organized people could do, but I still don't say they necessarily went about it the right way.
Okay,
You know, and it's just about over now. One of the leaders of CHOP has already said that most of the protesters, and this was as of a few days ago, most of the protesters, the original protesters, have left peaceably. There's really, after the violence that did start breaking out in there, that was not being supported by the organizers. They're like, okay, this is not what we did this for. This was not our intent. We need to relinquish control again, and let the forces that be seemingly move back in and hand power back over. Um, Interesting. I would say I would not have wanted to live in that area.
I don't know. There's no way I would want to live in that area, and I think back to 2007, no, 2006. I think back to my favorite TV show, The Wire.
The Wire.
Season 3, Major Bunny Colvin was going to Comstat weekly to talk about the numbers. All the, commanders and majors were going there.
hmm
And he was trying to figure out a way to lower the crime in his district. And what he did was he created a free zone for where they could sell drugs, use their drugs, and the police would not bother them. They
Right.
gave them a 4-block radius.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sitting here when that was happening in Seattle, I was just like, does anyone remember this from The Wire? Because I'm
hmm
like, I do. You know, at one point I thought it was called CHAZ. That's why I had CHAZ up there.
No, I think there were two groups or two organizations. There's a CHOP and a CHAZ.
Oh, okay.
Looking in some of the articles, I saw that as well. I'm like, okay, but
Yeah.
CHOP seemed like it was the larger one and the more organized.
And what they were trying to do in DC with their own autonomous zone out there. And I'm like, if the president lives a few blocks up, there's no way this is going to, and it's going to be pretty darn bad.
Yep.
You
But
know,
I mean, DC is one of those cities that it's also a city of haves and have-nots. I mean, you got, and I forget the Northeast, Northwest, the districts, which ones are
yes,
the haves and which ones are the have-nots.
yes,
But like you said, it's not that far from the capital. It's not that far from the center of government. And let one of these zones set up, and then people go on the march. Well, who knows where they're going to end up and what's going to happen. So you couldn't let that fly down there.
that's true. That's true. We can segue to, does Facebook's ad boycott matter? Rich, when it was just REI, when it was just North Face, I was like, well, those are kind of niche type markets.
Targeted marketing as well.
Yeah. I said, nah, it's. And then I heard Verizon.
Right. Mainstream, global marketing.
Right.
Especially regional for us, but global anyway. Verizon's
Yes.
Verizon. That was big. And then Unilever. Now we're talking international.
Yes.
What's their $8 billion marketing budget? which of course is
Yes.
not just Facebook or advertising, but still, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And that's got to hurt. And, they said for the remainder of the year, so we're talking 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And, like you were just saying, it started small. You get one of the big boys in here. That will get the attention of some of the other smaller ones and some of the big ones and say, you know what? If these guys are willing to do that and make the stand, maybe we need to look at it, analyze this. And I would expect to see even more follow suit. And then maybe Facebook realizes, all right, we do really need to. I think they understand it already, but maybe they really act more quickly and take some action here, do something.
I think Zuckerberg is a real slickster, and it's just painful to watch, because on the flip side, we see what Twitter's doing with silencing. And you tend to appreciate some of the stuff that Twitter is doing,
Right.
where if this guy is making some type of threat to whomever, that they're like, oh, we're gonna flag you. We're gonna flag you because you're out of control. And it's been long overdue.
We got to get back on, pendulum swing. So everything, of course, was the swing towards what should be and free speech.
Right.
But there's still limits. Just like free speech always meant that, no, you can't sit there and yell fire in a crowded movie theater. I think it's full and well and valid that information that's posted and purports to be accurate is vetted somehow. Tell the truth. It's that simple. I mean, you have truth in advertising, right? You can't say something in advertising if it's not factual. Do the same thing for public forums like this. I mean, people sign up, it's personal, but when you have thousands and thousands of fake news sites, thousands and thousands of hate speech and white supremacist sites and all this, you have to go through these and at least verify that what's being said is true. And of course, it's not the hate speech, it's not incendiary. I do like one of the things that Twitter says they're going to start doing now, right? Forcing you to, well, at least making you have to do a double take before you retweet something. So sure, I mean, I think everyone's been guilty of it at some point or another. You get that headline, and this could be Facebook, this could be Twitter, this could be any of the social media sites. You see that headline, it looks like something that you would agree with immediately. And you say, yeah, let me share this with my friends without ever reading the actual article past maybe the first paragraph. Read it.
I love that fact that
gotta read it.
Yep. We're offering that.
Yep.
Read before you retweet it. I think it's awesome, because we are now at the point. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when we were doing the radio show and out east, and we would talk about people in their attention spans,
right? And
we would talk about 140 characters, then it became 280 characters, and then it's to a point where I'm just going to retweet it. I'm not even going to read it.
Right.
I'm just going to spread it on. And hence, then the 2016 campaign happened, where we just saw misinformation everywhere. And I'm not going to say that affected the outcome, because there were a lot of things that affected the outcome. But from there, you had to, there were some checks and balances that needed to be put in place.
Right.
So I like the fact that Twitter is doing that. I love the fact that they're rolling out the voice notes.
Well, I haven't heard that one. What's that going to
be? Yeah. So instead of me typing a tweet, you can hear me. I can leave an audio file.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
With that tweet. So, and for me, with social media, I kind of stick to strictly just Twitter. Not really so much in the Instagram. I don't do Snapchat. Don't really touch the Facebook too much. Yeah, I for the most part, I stay there and kind of leave it at that. But I'm glad that Twitter is has taken a step forward, and they're doing things that Facebook won't, because for them, you got to remember 2.5 billion users versus what 500 million users.
Right.
Big difference.
Something you mentioned a little earlier, Zuckerberg. So, when do you think he leaves? How much longer do you think he sits at the top?
I think he'll always be a chairman, but active CEO, I give it 2021.
I would say something similar.
Yeah, I would say second quarter of 2021. So communication goes out towards the end of this year, around about after the election.
After the election, yep.
I will be stepping down as the CEO, and just be the executive chairman.
Right. He doesn't need to be there's no vision, nothing visionary anymore.
No.
It's not like he's lead developer. He'll put his ideas in a memo, I'm sure, and then off it goes to one of the thousands of developers, if that much. He started it, fine, good. You don't need to be the face of it anymore. Let it morph into its next being, as it is. The global media force that it is.
I could see Sheryl Sandberg also stepping to the side too. I could see that also, because she was just out there, and I'm the COO and I'm doing this and all this other stuff, and then it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, what are you really doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
What are you doing? You're watching all of this stuff just happen, but what are you doing?
I think they really just don't understand what to do, because this is never what they intended it to become. I don't think.
Mm-mm.
This is obviously it started as that little college thing and turned into what it turned into.
And then it became a cesspool.
Yes.
Of extremists.
Yep.
Regarded on whether you're on the left or the right.
Whatever side you're on. Yep.
That just everything. I just don't. You know what? I wish we can go back to when social media was. Everything wasn't politicized.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm looking for that nirvana that I will never actually find again. But I remember when you can go in there, you can read stories, you can find out about stuff, because we're techies, so we're going to lean towards that way. And then the other things that we like to learn about. We do research there and stuff like that, but just like you said, the hate speech and just people talking crazy on there and everything, and it's to a point where Jamel Hill said something. You have the attack dogs come out after her. Megyn Kelly said something. You have her attack dogs come after her because whatever she spews.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like not fun anymore.
No, it's not. Even I've never been with Twitter. I come back and forth with Twitter. I'll get on. I'll be active for a couple of months, and then I'll disappear for a while. Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and that's passively, just because for the photo thing. That's
right.
Me.
Instagram is cool because that's photos. There you go. That's that.
Yep. Facebook, man, I even had to unfriend a few people recently because I'm like, that was just the most ignorant thing that you've ever said. And I can't associate myself with you anymore. A few people have gotten that. It's like, no, I'm done. Unfriend, thank you. That's it. But, I don't fault the person for educated beliefs. I fault the person for ignorant beliefs.
And I agree with you. I agree with you on that. It's I don't know. So we'll go to should we expect a big V
this summer?
Economic recovery this summer.
That's a hard one to answer right now. It's the obvious statement. It's going to depend on COVID recovery, and we're going to fall back on if those states which are now experiencing these spikes had listened, they would not be in a state like as of was it today, Texas and Florida both had to announce we're closing our
Yes.
bars again because of the
Yes.
spike. Well, if you hadn't rushed to open them, or if you had not enforced the fact upon your people to wear masks, or if certain people who went out there, the here we go, the uneducated knowledge or speaking, but I got to get my tattoos, I got to get my nails done, I got to. Okay, so your health is not just your health, the health of other people is not more important than that. So now we're in the situation we're in. We had all the protesters out there. What was that, 3 weeks ago? And
Yes.
protesting is fine. Nothing protesting is proper. Legal protesting is good and should be done. That's how we make change. But still, you had all the protesters out there not wearing masks. Forget about
Right.
even the words social distancing. It's almost impossible to do during a protest.
You
Okay,
can't.
you can
You
get
can't.
that. Wear the mask. That's all. That was 3 weeks ago. And now we got spikes and half the country ballooning. How many states have just announced the largest numbers and increases of COVID detections since it started?
Dude, between Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Arizona, Texas, California's still on fire.
Yep.
Those are the main ones where you're just like, geez. And oh, excuse me, in Florida,
In Florida, right.
you know,
A big Democrat states.
it's. I just don't see. I don't expect a big V.
No,
In the
there'll
summer.
be a well, if you'd asked me this 3 weeks ago, I said there'll be a bump for sure. And things were coming back. But now, I don't know, we get a square root. That's what we'll get. We'll get a square
Oh,
root sign.
okay,
We got the dip,
okay.
a little bit up and level off, and then we'll see what happens after that. Uh, who knows? What are we going to do? Employment, the big things, schools. I mean,
Yes,
we're in education. We
yes.
already know January is the next time to even think about a full time on campus school.
Yep,
Don't even think about it till January.
yep.
In all of these states that are now having these big bumps, they just pushed themselves back 3 months at least.
Yes, they have.
So now those families, those people, those employers, those schools, everyone, they're back to it's a year. It's a full year of dealing with this for them now because they're not going to know till next March what the situation really is.
Well, when you rush to reopen
Mm-hmm.
and not mandate masks
Mm-hmm.
and not do this and not do the necessary and not wait for the 14 days for the dip to happen
Yep.
and
So I like what our governor here in New York has said. It's like, you know what? You're
Mhm.
coming from another state. You're quarantining for 14 days
You're quarantining.
because
Yes.
we've taken care of our mess,
Right.
and we don't want you to come back and get us back on a downward spiral. And I'm glad he did that because when I took a trip down to Texas. Now that was a little over a month ago, and I drove. There was no way I was getting anywhere
Mhm.
near an airport.
Oh no. No, no, no.
Took that drive, 24-hour drive, and sure enough, passing through some of those states, signs: travelers from New York, travelers from Connecticut, quarantine 14 days. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Now we'll see what's going on. Now the tables have turned, and they need to because we don't want to get back in the situation that we were in before. And we don't want them to be in a situation either. Don't get me wrong. We don't want anyone to have to deal with this, but it's due to their own actions, and in some cases inactions, that they get into the situations that they're in.
Rich, I'm gonna ask you really quickly. Who's staying in business after COVID-19 is
If they can survive, and I have never been a big going out to eat. We've never been a big family going out to eat. We cook 5 days a week easily, 6 days a week, many
Mhm.
times 7 days a week. But restaurants are the ones that get hardest hit here, and that's already a cutthroat business.
Yes.
Fortunately, the DoorDashes and Grubhubs and delivery services have probably saved at least half of those that would have gone under if it wasn't, for the ability to at least stay in business, to cook and get foods delivered. Um, I don't think that's going to change much, even when things get back to normal. Sure, there's the experience of going to sit in a restaurant, but if you can get the same food, and now everyone has gotten used to go on the app, go on whatever, order it, ding, bang,
Yes.
done. It's there, and you're eating the same food. Why not? Um, that's a tough call. I mean, anything that's service dependent, construction, they'll stay in business. You're always going to need schools. You need medical.
True.
You always need things like that. Um, I don't know. I'd have to look and see what are besides food service industry and home healthcare services, for example. Any
Yes.
any business that you've got to run, you've got to provide the service, you've got to get into people's personal spaces, even if it's the plumbers, the electricians. All of that has been limited during COVID. Um, those are the guys that are going to have a rough time to go, even though those are also the businesses that, as soon as things pick up, they're going to open up again. So,
It was so funny because I think it was about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I was working with a provider on a telehealth service. It was just like, hey, yeah, you go see the doctor while you're online, and I'm like, and tell them what? Well, just make something up, and just a note. 18 months fast forward, and
yep.
that's the way people are dealing with this type of stuff.
And it's not going to change. A lot of what we're seeing now is going to become the new norm, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I hope the answer is no. I'm going to ask you: have you had to, since we've been in lockdown, and now that everything is flattened, and reopening slowly, have you had to go to urgent care?
No.
I could not find an urgent care that was open. Not that I
Mm.
needed one, but
hmm
the ones in the neighborhood were shut down.
I have not, but that's a good thing to look into, to see which ones are open and what are you supposed to do.
What are you
I mean,
supposed to do?
my healthcare provider, of course, like every other one, has switched over
Hmm.
to remote assistance and sent out all the emails. And yeah, if you have a problem, call us, and we'll get someone on the camera with you, and analyze it from there and diagnose you from there and send prescriptions. Um, or is everything now back to call 911, go to the emergency room? Which is,
I
let's
think
face it, that's how it was 10 years ago. I mean,
that's
all the
how it
urgent
was.
centers and everything just really appeared.
Right.
They're not that old.
Before the advent of all these urgent cares
Right.
being dropped in the neighborhoods, in the local
Right.
neighborhood.
Yep. Yep.
Because if you didn't want to wait 8 hours in a emergency room, you go to urgent care.
hmm
Now, most of the time, some of the times, they route you to the emergency room.
Right. Right.
But it's just a thought. It's just like, I'm not sure who's going to stay. I mean, we know the certain staples that will stay in business, but it seems like all these industries have been rocked.
hmm
I
And
mean, we no, go ahead.
GNC just filed.
GNC.
Now, of course, they
GNC.
filed bankruptcy. Doesn't mean they're going out of business, and that's one of the things that they mentioned in their news statement. There's restructuring and everything else, but still,
Yeah,
one of the largest providers of nutritional supplements in the country, calling it
tons of stores, tons of
thousands,
businesses,
6,700, I think.
and and a lot are not going out of business, but they're shutting down their existing stores
hmm
to open up a new, smaller footprint.
Right.
I find that with a lot of businesses now
Right.
because they're just going to lean heavily on e-commerce.
Yep. And they can.
Yes.
In some ways, this probably rushes what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
This just pushed the line. Um, But yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, there will be a lot that get left behind.
Did you
You know,
hear
it's funny.
today?
Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go.
I was I was just gonna say, no, you go. Uh, I was gonna say Microsoft is closing all of its stores,
I
brick and
didn't
mortar.
hear that one. Really?
Yes. I'm like, now granted, you go to the Apple store in the mall pre coronavirus, it's like a petri dish in there. But you
Hmm.
go to a Microsoft store that's
It's
maybe a few
it,
feet away,
it's social
and
distanced. Now it's funny you said that. I went because, of course, was that last week or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I'm losing track of dates when Apple announced when they were opening their stores again. And of
yes.
course, there's one at the mall. I was driving by the mall for something else,
Hmm.
and sure enough, outside the mall, there's Apple employees with pylons moving people around the parking, adjusting a pickup zone. Apple. Of, what do you do?
Right.
Um, but
They
something
rule the
else
world.
interesting. They rule the world. So over 2 weeks ago, when I guess when we went initially and hit stage two, where the bigger businesses could open, I was in a car dealership, and the place was packed. It ended
Really.
up I was in there like the day I was there on the Saturday, and I think Friday is when everything opened up, or it might even been the same day. Packed, and cars going out the door, sales upon sales upon sales. People have been just holding out, waiting to buy, and sure enough, that's what was going on there. So, and that's big money. That's a lot of investment. That's good for the economy.
Yes.
Um, so certain staples will last. Everyone needs a car. Everyone needs to buy a home. You know,
Yeah, there's certain things. Yeah, you're right. There's certain staples that people will always need. You know, will you always need the liquor store? I don't
see,
know.
that's one that could you could they will be impacted by e-commerce.
Hmm.
You know what you like to drink, you order it.
But how quick can you get it to the purchaser?
Right. Well, that's true. That is one of those immediate gratification type things to some
Right.
extent. But I went by my local bottles and cases the other day just to pick up some adult beverages,
Hmm.
and just overheard a conversation that, oh yeah, this guy's coming in. They just ordered 5 cases of wine just
Yes.
just just to have. It wasn't for an event. It was just to
Right.
have.
Just to have. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they get smart and they do some automatic fulfillment. Figure how often do you need another case? We'll send it to you automatically and just charge your credit card. Why not?
No, you're right. You're right.
You're doing it with
No,
Tide Pods and everything else.
that is true. I don't know if you want to talk about WW, the Worldwide Developers Conference.
Of which I watched nothing.
Right. The desktop for your phone, for your iPhone, has gone full Android, where you can have widgets everywhere.
Wait,
With the
wait, wait,
latest
wait, wait.
iOS,
Say that again.
your Apple iPhone, iOS 14, is going to mimic an Android OS, where you can have widgets, you can totally configure it. You want to have your pictures, you want to have your key apps, you want to have whatever you want to have. You want to have your contacts, your calendars, whatever you use immediately is going to be
So
right there.
that was the last vestige of Steve Jobs.
Yep.
He's finally now out of the picture. They can start doing whatever new items they want to do.
Right.
It took them long enough.
I
Now
I
maybe I'll consider one.
I wasn't so impressed. The only thing I will say is I was impressed with the production of the hour and 45-minute event because it
That's
wasn't
always a
live.
TV show. That's always been top shelf. I mean, it's Apple.
Yeah.
If anything, they put on a show.
So just think of it. They put some money into this one
Right.
because it wasn't live. It was like, pre-taped.
Mm-hmm. They could actually do
So
pre-pro.
yes. So the VFX, the CGI
Yep.
was awesome. Well, enough with WWDC.
I
Could you
will
tell
ask
me?
a question.
Oh, okay.
MacBook Pro, did they eliminate that bar along the top with
The touch bar?
the touch bar? Yeah.
Not as they haven't mentioned that.
Okay. I'm just
Well,
curious.
it wasn't per se a hardware town hall.
Okay.
It wasn't
developers conference. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wyze's latest offering.
The one thing which anyone with a Wyze cam or a Wyze device, because now they're well beyond just cameras, right, has asked from day one of getting at least the camera, an outdoor version.
Outdoor cam.
And did you get a chance to look at the video that they put forth, referencing the development of the device?
I very briefly looked at it today in pre-pro.
So so of course they were looking at everything that their customers have been asking for and have been working on this since the beginning, and they just realized how many challenges there were before: battery, size, quality, recording, and it sounds like the device that we're going to get is everything you could want for typical Wyze, low price, $49.99.
It's great.
Camera and the base station. So what they're doing is you'll need to get it's a fully wireless device. Battery, I believe what they said is 4 to 6 weeks, I believe, on a charge, depending on activity. I
It's
think
a lithium battery. It's a lithium.
It's a lithium, yes. It's a lithium battery.
Like a V3.
That I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Gotta
like
look.
a 3-volt.
Yeah. So what they've done, because of course you would think a normal device for it to be always on, and especially with motion sensing, would be a huge drain on a battery. It wouldn't last more than a couple of days, if that long.
Right.
But they developed new infrared sensors, which draw next to no power, and only when it detects something will the camera turn on and record for you if you like. It's full Wi-Fi, uses the base station that comes with the device. You can get the camera alone for $39, the camera with the base station for $49, and each base station supports up to 4 cameras. And really just plug them in anywhere. They look pretty much like the existing Wyze V2 camera, except the circle's a little larger. I can't wait to get mine. One of the nice features that they mentioned, because of course this little block's sitting out there, someone sees it, they might try and grab it. But it records not onto the camera, but it records onto the base station. So you'll see it as it happens and know right away.
I was gonna say to you, Rich, please tell me I'm not putting a memory card into the camera and then waiting for it to upload to cloud drive that you have to have a subscription for. And
no, they're sticking with their existing. You get the full 14 days free recording, but you also got a memory card in the base station. Everything will be recorded there.
One 4 cameras up. The base station will support up to 4 cameras.
Up to 4 cameras, correct.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So it's going to have 4 slots for memory cards.
You connect them. I don't know. I didn't read in depth, and I don't remember seeing it from the things I read. But my guess is, every device is going to have its own identifier, and the files should just save under that identifier. That's what makes sense.
That's awesome. Because I was checking out the site because I had received the email, and then I forgot about the event because the event was 9 a.m. Pacific time, which meant it was 12 p.m. Eastern time for us, and totally forgot about it. But I went to the site, I was checking out, and I saw the base station, and I was just like, how's this going to work? And I could see where the home that they had available on the web page had 4 cameras.
Yeah.
I saw that and I said, okay, that seems pretty cool. Easily mountable.
Easily mountable, full weatherproof. They go through, and I forget the standard that it meets, but in the testing, this thing is sitting in desert sunlight and going underwater in showers for hours and
So,
snow and
with
everything.
panoramic, or that's probably the next version.
I think that's going to be the next version. I would expect this will give you the same field of vision as an existing Wyze cam too,
Okay.
and that's what it seems like they're basing everything on. So
Full and it's going to be full night vision ready.
full night vision ready. So
Okay.
this sounds good. Full HD. They're giving you a mode so that you'll just carry this thing with you. If you want to use it as almost like a little outdoor cam, or one of the examples they show, of course, is you go camping. You want to make sure that you can see everything in your campsite. Just take it, throw it up on a tree. You got your phone there. You can record. You can view. You can watch. Throw it in your car. Let it record. Throw it in the car when you give your car to the valet, and you'll see what's going on there. The possibilities of what people will start doing with this thing is going to be pretty cool.
Wow. That
For
is pretty cool.
$39.
You can't go wrong.
Yep.
I overspent for a Canary.
Nice.
So you mount it.
Yep.
Mountable.
Battery life?
Good question. Has to be plugged in at all times.
Okay. Well, that's it. Battery life is endless.
I was like, there's an infinite amount of battery life that it has. As long as it's plugged in, you're good to go.
Okay.
One more mention: the Brave 7 LE, the Akaso.
Which camera?
Similar to like a GoPro.
Oh, okay. Does he use some of the same mounting hardware? Which everyone's
Yes.
standardized
It
on.
just arrived today. So give it a shot, and if I don't give it a shot, I'll throw it your way. Because I think you would, you on the motorcycle mounted.
There you go. Throw it on the helmet. Yeah. Throw it on the helmet, mount it to the bike.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna say Elijah McClain. Before we get to Elijah McClain, Rich, I think you and I did a show, maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
Okay.
We're like, why does this keep happening?
People getting beat down.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
Systemic racism?
That puts
improper training?
Combination of the above and more.
Not having the right experts to deal with the specific issue at hand? I don't want to put you in a bind.
No, you don't put me in a bind. I can speak my mind. I can speak freely. I think it's all of the above. I mean, yes, let's start with what is most likely the biggest factor. Systemic racism.
Yeah.
Implicit bias.
Yes.
What people need to kind of understand, and we've all gotten into the conversations, we've all gotten into the debates, and what we're dealing with in the country is right now it's really just coming to a head of, as cliched as it sounds, as tired as it may sound, of 400 years of mistreatment.
Yes.
And I'm sure some people would right away say, how can you blame me for what my ancestors might have done 400 years ago? And not blaming you for what may have happened, but you have to understand the situation and why things are happening. So when the country was formed, and we write that Constitution, write the Bill of Rights, what's one of those first lines? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Problem with that was when those words were written, they did not consider black people to be men. We were considered property. We were things to
Right.
be owned, sold, used, and abused.
3/5 of a man.
3/5 of a man. So those words were not written for us, meant for us. For the next 350 years, there was still full slavery. Then, when slavery was finally abolished, you still had many, many people. I'm not going to say majority. You had many, many people still treating blacks and people of color as inferior, as
Right.
you weren't allowing them the same rights, privileges that people that whites were allowed. You wouldn't let them live in the same neighborhoods. You wouldn't let them get the same jobs. You wouldn't let them enjoy the same liberties and peace. So, from a sociological standpoint, when for hundreds of years you have one group of people who have been fed the line that they're superior and
Hmm.
that another group of people is inferior, and you
Right.
have that other group of people who have been basically beaten down and have to fight for every single little thing and know they're not being treated equally, you're going to it's all going to come to a head that sooner or later that group is going to get tired of being mistreated,
Yes.
which is what we're at now. We've seen, and I'm sure we've both had conversations with friends and conversations with people who don't want to really believe that the
It exists.
oppression exists.
Right.
I would love to just go into a mixed room of people and say, okay, every black person, I actually would ask the white people first, who has walked into a store and felt that someone was following them because of their color, raise your hand.
Hmm.
Or who has felt that an injustice has been done to them because of the color of their skin, raise their hand.
Right.
You might get one or two, maybe just because. Ask the same question of the people of color in the room, and I almost guarantee every hand will raise.
I agree.
And this is you and me. I know you have been victim of it or felt it, seen it, endured it to one level or another. I know I've had situations where for nothing but the color of my skin was there a mistreatment of some sort.
Yep.
It's got to stop. Now, specifically around the police, I think there's a number of issues there. And I mean, we know me. I am a supporter of the police. Call it proud of it. There are things that need to change. I think a lot of this is because of the locations where it's happening. But of course, things happen right here in New York. We've seen it. Eric Garner, come on, let's face it. Um,
Correct.
it's training. It's getting rid of bias. It's the responsibility of those who see the wrong happen to speak out about it. You know,
Yes.
George Floyd.
Very key. Very key.
George Floyd, you got that one officer sitting there on that man's neck. Still, that boggles the mind. But you had the other officers, and I'm not making any excuse for them, rookies. But still, that's your job to say something. And I, again, as a law enforcement officer, we know I am.
Hmm.
I feel that law enforcement officers should be held to a higher standard. I feel that
Right.
if a law enforcement officer violates someone's civil rights, commits the crime against someone, I am perfectly okay with the penalty being doubled. It's like you're not only supposed to be out there protecting, one, you're getting paid to protect. You've sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States. You've sworn to uphold the Constitution of whatever district, wherever you may work. You are not only just committing a crime, you're in violation of the very things you're supposed to be upholding.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's training. It's and now the other part of it is, a lot of people say when you look at the numbers of officers on the job, and it always skews to very few or a lot less minorities. Well, then we as minorities need to step up and apply for the job.
Yes.
That is that simple. Um, there's nothing on that test that says you can't get the job if you're of color. And they, in some cases, kind of work. I know New York City, for example, is very active in trying to employ
Yeah,
minorities.
it would work to your favor.
Yeah, exactly. It works in your favor in the city, but across the country, everywhere. Go out there, be the job, be the cop. Now, of course, many people probably say I don't want to be the cop because they're full of crap and they don't enforce properly and they're biased and everything else. Well, the only way you're going to change it is if you get out there and be a part of it to change it. That's all I got.
I remember I was speaking with, oh man, the name's uh, Benjamin Muhammad. I remember I had two people come down to the studio. This is when I was doing the show on Saturdays at 4:30 p.m. And we talked about policing the community versus community policing. And we spent the entire hour on breaking down the differences and why there's such unrest in these communities, urban communities of Black and brown people. And it bothers me to the core because these are conversations you and I have had, and other folks and other folks have had with us years ago.
Right. This is nothing new.
Right. This is nothing new.
Nothing new.
You know, so we were traveling to North Carolina about a month ago. So it was the family. So I was driving, and my wife put on. She was scrolling through the playlist and saw Marvin Gaye and played "What's Going On."
Yep.
And we aligned the song, which came out
72,
71, with what was happening at the current point in time with protests and with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and, you know, just these senseless deaths that were happening. And and we took the moment to explain to our children about what's what. And because I of course, you know, like kids are younger than yours, I was like, okay, turn off the trap music for 15 minutes.
Yes.
I want you to listen to the song, listen to the lyrics, and then we're going to talk about it. Because we had a 10-hour drive.
Right.
So, but it's painful that it seems like certain people are offended when you say you have to have the talk with your son or your daughter if you're Black or brown. And I'm like, why are you offended?
Right. Because in many cases, I don't think it's because of an anger. I think it's because some people, when you say that, they assume that you're taking the offense against something when they don't realize that you're really going on the defense to protect.
Yes.
And in some cases, it's because they have no clue, that they really just don't understand that these things happen.
Right.
You know, not for no other reason than maybe because raised in certain areas, sure, you don't see this. It's not a factor versus, let's face it, North versus South. You go in the South, you know what you're going to face, and you know who you're going to face it from.
Yes.
It's
I mean,
and
I think I shared the story with you. I was in Virginia Beach. We were leaving. It was in November of 2019. So just maybe a month prior to COVID going crazy, you know, in China.
Yeah, it started.
Right. And before, you know, hey, let's shut down the borders for China and everything like that. And then the people from Europe bring it in. Okay. So before all of that, we're in Virginia Beach. It's a Sunday morning. We're traveling home. So it's you know, myself and my wife. So I'm driving early Sunday morning, and you know, the roads are kind of funny because you're going 70 miles an hour, then it shoots down to 50, 55.
Yep.
So I guess I get caught in the speed trap because I was trying to get around someone, and I was like, okay, because you had the Waze going and you have this going, and
Yep.
okay, you alert for over here, such and such. There's roadkill on the right.
Yep.
You know, so I get pulled over. Okay, and I said, all right. First thing I said was, all right, turn down the music.
Yep.
Said to my wife, okay, hand me registration and insurance card. Okay. So the officer, very respectable, very respectable, gets to the window. Hello. I was like, hello. And he was like, hey, I want to let you know you were speeding. Oh, okay. I said, here's my driver's license, registration, and insurance card. I don't need the insurance card.
They already looked that up.
I said, okay. He said, so the person, wait for it, Rich. The person that this car is registered to is let me get this straight. Yeah. Basically, he said the person that this car is registered to, is that going to be the same? Will that person have the same last name as your license? I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I said, the car is my car. It's registered and insured to me.
Right.
So
what state was it then?
Huh?
What state?
Virginia Beach. So I handed it to him. He was like, all right, I'll be right back. Okay. So I said to Pam, I said, it's probably going to be about a $300 ticket that they're gonna hit me with. Watch. So I'm sitting there. We're waiting. And we're waiting. And I'm like, okay. If it's not the $300 ticket, do me a favor. Follow this car just in case if I get yanked out or something like that. She's like, okay, you've lost your mind. Okay?
No, you haven't.
And I was like, all right. So law enforcement officer walks up to me and says, you were going 68 in a 55 zone. I was like, sir, I said, officer, I thought it was 70.
Right.
He was like, it was. But for 2 miles, it's going to dip to 55.
Right.
And then after the 2 miles, it's going to go back up to 70.
Right.
I said, okay. So I'm sitting there. We're like, kind of like you're playing chicken.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you're traveling to North Hempstead? I said, yes. Okay. He said, hey, I just want to let you know something. This is the cleanest driver's license I've ever seen recently. Really? I believe that's good to hear. Yeah, so I thought I would keep this driver's license. I would continue to keep it clean.
Nice.
I was like, okay, so what are you saying to me?
Give you a warning?
I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to give you a warning and let you know in 2 miles, it goes back up to 70.
So continue on your trip.
Handing me the stuff back, I said, thank you.
Yep.
And then I hit him with the have a blessed day.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Rich, I'm like, what in the world just happened?
So see, here's the thing. Especially in that area, so that's gun run central.
Right.
They probably catch so much coming through there that first thing is the person who owns the car going to have the same name as the person driving the car. That's the same name on the insurance.
Rich.
No, this is my uncle's car, see, right? But and I don't have my license with me. But my lady here, she's got her license with her. But it's really her brother's uncle's car. I know I said my uncle, but that's really my boy. So you can imagine how much of that they hear. And also, a lot of it is, all right, let me give them the other person the opportunity to screw up.
He was handing me my license back, and I didn't take it because I was just like, what's happening right now?
Right.
Because, like, are you giving me a ticket or are you not giving me a ticket? I just want to know that so we can get on the road and head back home.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not giving you a ticket. And I'm like, okay.
Clean license.
He said it's the cleanest license he's ever seen. And I said,
when's the last time you got a speeding ticket?
Maybe early 2000.
There you go.
Maybe, I don't know if it was 2000. Yeah, it was early 2000.
There you go. There's nothing on it.
There's nothing on it. There's nothing at all on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, yeah, hey, here you go.
There you go.
Have a great day. And he just went back to his
away.
like, listen, that could have went sideways.
With the wrong person, sure.
With
now,
the wrong person.
Here's what I would say. I would say that when you got pulled over, don't go looking for your license, your registration, or any of that stuff. Pull the car over, turn it off, put the keys on the dashboard. Don't go searching. Don't go into that. Don't go glove compartment. Just sit there. Wait for the officer to ask you to get the stuff.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's. I will follow that next time.
It's been 2 hours, 2.5. Yes.
I will follow that next time.
Yep.
Rich Elijah McClain. I didn't see the video yet.
I haven't either.
But from reading the story, the young man who's anemic or is 140 pounds and he resisted. The cops were talking a certain way, and the next thing you know, he got a shot of ketamine.
I don't understand that at all.
Rich,
besides looking at the news and the rightful protests and everything that are starting off of this, I don't know any of these details. But when I heard the ketamine, I'm like, horse tranquilizer? Why? Are you kidding me? What does this have to do with anything? How? Why?
So tell me, you're in law enforcement, Rich. The amount of police officers that have been getting arrested within the last month and taken to task.
It's about damn time.
Rich, I believe it's in New York. It was in New York where
the girl or the old man?
Hmm?
Which one? Pushing the girl or pushing the old man?
No. It was recent, a few days ago, where police officer had a guy in a chokehold.
Yes.
And people are screaming, "Get off of him! You're choking him!"
Yep. And he did say, "I can't breathe."
And Elijah McClain said, "I can't breathe." Elijah McClain is from August of 2019. And it took 1 million signatures. August 2019. They have been fighting an uphill battle. And only because it went internationally.
Right.
Come on.
Again, for those officers out there that have been, let's face it, getting away with things all this time, it's got to stop. And that's part of the enablement. When all these things are allowed to happen, anyone is going to start getting the complex, if you will. Okay, I can do it. Or maybe been on the job too long. Maybe you shouldn't have had the job in the first place. I mean, definitely, it's not an easy thing to constantly be working with people who are causing trouble.
Yeah.
This is in no way at all making an excuse for any behavior. But it's not an easy thing.
Next time we'll get into defund versus disband because people are getting stuff confused.
Yes.
You can't disband the police.
You're not disbanding the police. You're not even going to really defund the police per se that much.
No.
You can demilitarize.
Yes. People need to understand one of my favorite movies, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yep.
Just think of
hero.
just think of living in a time like that. Think
Total
of
anarchy.
Escape from New York. You know, when you say disband the police, it's just like, come on,
Mm-hmm.
stop it.
Right. But it's a reaction like, all right, what's the first thing you're going to say to do? And,
Right.
and even those who say disband the police, I don't really think they mean disband the police, because the police are when a call comes in for the 55-year-old guy with chest pains, call
Right.
goes out to the police and goes out to the ambulance, and the police get there first.
Right.
When someone's breaking into something, you want the police there. When
Yeah.
there's a problem, you want the police there.
That's the first thing you're saying.
And they should be there, and that's just and right and correct. I think it's that money needs to go into certain monies need to go into more training, more process during the hiring process. I mean, I know from going through what I had to go through here in New York versus what we hear people going through out of state. We had a full psychologicals, physicals, backgrounds, soup to nuts, just from my volunteering part of it.
Right.
In some jurisdictions, you go apply, you know, they're doing some background check of some sort, obviously, but I know not to the level that we get. And then you go with your training officer, you ride with him for a while, and yeah, you got the job. There are differences in having the military force that we do have in New York as a police department in the city, especially, than smaller towns, governments, things like that. So
I don't know.
you're still always going to have bad apples.
Yeah. But when you think of bad apples, you think of just a few.
Right.
You don't hear all these different stories coming up, and people are now coming out and saying, hey, let me tell you about what happened with me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me tell you about what happened with me. Hey, you know, I mean, granted, I mean, we all know, we all have, you know, close friends and family that are law enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
and you know where their hearts are.
Right.
You know, they love their job.
Right.
They're public servants, and they're going to do the best that they can do. You know, so the stuff that we're just seeing, it just misrepresents all the good work that's being done out there.
Which is the majority. I will always say the majority are good, hardworking, honest cops.
Right.
No question about it. But yeah, there is a significant number who are outright bad, and then you need more that will cross that blue line, and you got to report what happens. You got to get the guys to stop. And the action, you know, thank goodness for all the cameras. Thank goodness for all the visibility.
Yes.
Because now, where people would not have been believed before,
they are being believed now.
Yeah. And what's that? You know, some of those big rules and laws being put into place, officers' history should now be available. So you got a guy who's got, you know, 10, 15 reports from civilians, but you can't, he goes to look for another law enforcement job in another district, another location, can't mention any of that. Well, now you can. Now it's part of the record, and it should be. There's no reason that kind of thing should be hidden.
I would hope for once our politicians could get their acts together for once and say, okay, national database.
Absolutely.
Okay. No chokeholds, no knock warrants. You know, there's certain things where you're just like, come on, this is too easy.
Right.
But it, you know, we sit here and we watch cable news and we see them jockeying back and forth over two different bills that won't pass in either house.
Right. Then it just gets caught up in the politics.
Yeah, it's just dead.
And
no one wins, and you just have this current unrest.
Yep.
it's just, Rich, the stuff that we've seen recently with people getting body slammed, getting collarbones broken, and just getting tased in cars, and
But it's nothing new.
no, it's
This
nothing.
has always been going on.
It's just in high def now.
Right. Exactly. That's all there is to it.
It's just in high def. So before we close this out, I do have a question for you. How do you want Wolverine to enter Phase 4 of the MCU? Is there a specific way that you want him to?
I don't want the old man Logan.
Okay.
I don't know. Wolverine coming back, Wolverine becoming part of Phase 4. Don't we then? I don't know what the timing is going to be from what we had in previous movies. Where are they going to place this?
I think it's going to be two separate
universes.
Yeah.
So then it almost doesn't matter. I mean, do we have him be a
They may
creature?
reboot him.
That's I think what we need to do then at this point.
Yeah.
And give him. I mean, I'd be fine with a full origin story again. Well, you don't have to go all the full detail, but you can go to it, look at it from a different standpoint. We had the quick. Well, actually, that was half of Part 2 X-Men, where we got to see the Wolverine creation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe not. I guess we really don't need it. You gotta do, if you do a reboot, you have to have some origin. But you're right, maybe not full. Dedicate an hour of a movie to it. Dedicate half an hour to it.
Yeah, I'm like, it's kind of like in DC with them rebooting this Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna have to see Martha and Thomas Wayne die again? I mean, I don't want to see that.
Very quickly, make it part of the opening credits.
That's like if Uncle Ben dies again.
You're
like, oh, I don't want to see this again.
5-minute opening credit scene and keep on moving.
Oh my goodness. I think the last thing we have is how to decline a job offer in 5 steps.
I think most of that's kind of easy, right? So one of the things you want to base it on is how was the offer given to you, right? I mean, most people have been in that situation at least once, where you got a job offer and you didn't want it, or you got a better offer afterwards. And you're like, all right, well, I don't want to take this one. And it's kind of uncomfortable because you know what you went through when they're offering you a job. You don't want to say no to a job, but you got to pick how you're going to break the news. So if they extended you the offer via a phone call, then I think it's okay. Return the offer to the hiring manager with a phone call. Personally, I'd go phone call regardless, unless they had you come in to offer you the position, and maybe you go and meet someone face to face to turn a position down. And of course, some of this is also dependent on what type of job you're talking about. And even if you do the phone call, the email, there's always not the bad idea. Write a letter, send something in on paper, because it's formal, but it also looks professional.
Okay, got it. So overall, I would say, regardless whether or not you get the job or not, are you expressing gratitude? Are you pretty solid in your denial? I kind of think of, one of the things I think of is, hey, can we negotiate one more time? Is there something that's going to get me across that finish line and stuff like that? Luckily, you and I, we worked together coming up 16 years. No, it's been 16 years.
It's been 16 years, yeah.
It's been 16 years.
Just past 16.
So luckily we haven't had to deal with that, deal with stuff like that. But I just look at the job market as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's so different than 15, 16 years ago.
Right. Right.
Like this gig economy stuff, I couldn't imagine being 15 or 16 years younger and having to deal with uncertainty and having to deal with, that I'm going to have to work these 4 jobs right here because it's
Mm-hmm.
going 10 hours here, 8 hours here,
Yeah.
12 hours here, where you're just like, I mean, to me, it would just seem so tiring.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be going through that at that age at this point either. But when it comes time, when it does come time to turn down that position, you got to kind of be forthcoming with it, right? You got to be firm, but and leave no room to waver. I mean, you kind of have to give them I'm declining the offer. Um, Thank you for the opportunity,
Hmm.
but I respectfully need to decline this position. You got to be clear, but you don't want to be dismissive. You're not going to say, "Nah, I don't want that job. No, you're not paying me enough. No, you didn't offer what I wanted." Because you never know. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? You you non-respectively decline the offer. You take the other position. 3 weeks later, you realize that the other position is not what you thought it was,
Right.
and now you're looking for another job again. Where if you did it properly, respectfully, I mean, every employer understands they're not the only prospective job that you were looking for. Everyone understands that. So if you did it properly, 3 weeks later, you're coming back. I realized I declined the position. The new one wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I was really interested in your offer. Is something still available? Can we discuss this? Can we go back to Then you haven't burned any bridges, and you might have left yourself open for an opportunity that you could use.
Okay. So leave the door open
Leave the door always,
at any chance. Leave the door open.
always leave the door open.
The one thing I will say is in our industry and what we're noticing in other industries that are shrinking, it's a small world.
Yep.
You deal with the same people.
Yep.
It might not be immediately, but you're going to cross that path again 5, maybe 10 years down the line.
hmm
You know,
You will run into people or someone who knows someone.
oh, everyone knows everyone.
Yep.
Everyone knows everyone. It's just like, oh, hey, do you know? Oh, yeah, I do know such
hmm
and such. It's like, oh, so what do you think about him or her?
hmm
So, but yeah, dude, this was like 2 shows in one.
Well, it's because we haven't had a show in months.
I know,
This is good,
I
and I like
know,
the
and
new
it's
format.
just like, yeah, I think it's cool. It's not radio.
That's okay. It's better.
I do think it's better. Um, I kind of wonder, like, these radio stations and TV studios. I'm sure everyone's doing stuff at home.
Same thing. Social distancing, right?
Yeah, or I mean, hey, you're doing it in one side of the studio and the other person's doing it on the other side of the studio.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a different platform. It's StreamYard. And we're gonna kick the tires on it a little bit. Gonna
Sounds
kick
like a
the
plan.
tires. It's a little bit different. But we don't have to repeat that the show is blah 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 because it's just streaming and you can see it and stuff like that. But other than that, man, what are you going to be getting into this week? Pre July 4th week?
Just catching up on some last and trying to tie up a couple of projects at work. Things going on. We've been doing a lot of training for staff and faculty for us, so get that done. Some of my normal Blackboard work, trying to get some of those things done. And people are having conversations about getting back to school, and some of the requirements we'll need to meet. So, been having meetings around those. Otherwise, it's a normal day to day at
Gotcha.
home.
I know that Mrs. must enjoy you at home, available 24/7. It's like, because I can tell you on my end, it's like I support Teams and Zoom and Outlook and Windows
Of course.
and
And
uh,
Mac.
a Lenovo and
Chromebooks.
Chromebooks. What else? And Catalina. I
Okay.
support all of that at here because, like, back in calls, like, okay, I'm having a problem. You got to come upstairs right now. I'm like, okay, but I'm
Hmm.
in the middle of something.
No. But now,
But right now, so it's it's been good, and it's worked a lot better than what I thought it would work. Everyone being home,
Mhm.
everyone running into, living in their own worlds. The kids really did a good job. School is officially over.
Yep.
It ended last week, but for Department of Ed, it ended today. So it's just good knowing that we were able to get through it. Don't know what the fall's going to bring us. Personally, I'm not sure what my daughter is going to do for the fall
Hmm.
because she's planning. She had wanted to go away to school, and I told her I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, don't plan on that right now.
I said, but lastly, and I think I've shared with you also, Rich, that I told her, I said, I'm not looking to pay this huge bill for you to attend the school out in New York if you're going to be sitting upstairs
Right.
on Zoom.
Right. That's not happening.
I was like, that's not happening.
Hmm.
So we're going to have to figure something out.
Hmm. Fall 2021, transfer somewhere else.
Yes.
Things are blown over. Get your
Yeah,
first year in locally.
that totally. So I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm looking at a couple of the local schools here,
Hmm.
and we'll take it from there.
Good.
But best ways to get in contact with you, Rich.
I'm still late night rich.
And I am the real Ted Hicks, and we are out.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll